This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. My guest today is Viktor Jiracek. He's going to be talking to us about those new entrepreneurs coming into the industry, those new investors, and he has a mentoring program for them. And I got to say, it's kind of a specialized niche because, when you start out, there's a lot of things you don't know and a lot of limiting beliefs, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to have to kind of get through. Hopefully you get the right person or listen to the right podcasts or YouTube channels or whatever and get through a lot of this stuff quickly, because if you just sit there by yourself, it may take you a long way to find your way out of this maze. So today we're going to be talking to Viktor about that. I'd also like to pay homage to my sponsor, livecom.com. Livecom is sells smartphone numbers. Smartphone numbers recognize when an incoming caller's phone number is a cell phone number, and then it puts that phone number into a text distribution list. So every smartphone number comes with a text distribution list attached to it, and it collects phone numbers. So it's a very easy way to track the effectiveness of ads or to pick up or to do some lead generation. Learn a whole lot more about Livecom if you just go to livecomm.com and check it out. I use Livecom to have an average of 4 days on the market for my last 200 houses, and I use no signs whatsoever anymore. So you can learn how I do that. All right, with no further ado, we're going to talk to Viktor, and that's Viktor Jiracek.
Right. Thanks for having me. Thanks for getting my name right too.
Yeah. I have two first names, no V in the middle, no S on the end. I suffered through the name problem myself my whole life too. So, yeah. Jiracek, what is that? What nationality?
It's Slovakian. So family's from Slovakia. My parents were born there, and I was born here. Still speak the language. We still, visit once in a while. We were supposed to go. Cousin had a wedding. We were supposed to go April 2020 for the cousin's wedding. Obviously, Corona happened, so we had to not go. But so we go and visit every once in a while. So yeah, it's very cool.
So a little backstory. My grandfather's name was Joe Stephen Vonyek, and when he landed in Ellis Island, he wanted to be American. He dropped his last name, and all the rest of us got a screwed up name from then on after. No one understands it. There's no S on the end of it. It's two first names, but that's how it happened. So we're from Prague. So
very cool. Czech Republic. Yeah, nice. So we're pretty much cousins.
So where do we start here? So if we're talking about people that are just getting into the industry, I have an idea for this. So after you state yours, I'll state mine. What's the biggest roadblock for someone to get into this business mentally?
I think the biggest thing, it's just like you said, it's like a mental roadblock. So people always ask, like, okay, how do I get the deals? How do I get the money? Like, that's the two things people always.
What do you think the biggest block is? I mean, it's all mental. Everything's mental. We know that. They don't know that yet, but we know that. What's the biggest one? I can't do this business because.
Yeah, because of X. I think there's always some sort of fear like behind all of it, because I'm too old, I'm too young, and it won't work in my market. The market's too hot, I want to wait. The market's too cold, I want to wait. There's always these excuses, and it's always like behind it. If you kind of look back and like ask deeper questions, like it's fear. Like I'm afraid of losing money, or I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. And it's just the fear, that four-letter word holding them back.
My opinion is the biggest obstacle, or one of the biggest, and there could be a couple of them right at the top, real close together. I don't have any money. Yeah. I don't have any money. I'm broke. It takes money to do that. I don't have any money. How am I going to get in the real estate game without any money? If you think you need money for this business, then you're screwed up right from the start, because if it took money for this business, then none of us would be here, because none of us had any money. Like 99.9% of the people I know started out dead broke, and I'm one of them, So let's just address that. You don't have any money. When you don't have any money, you're going to get paid to be a professional deal finder, contract writer-upper. So you have to learn how to find extraordinary deals, and you need to learn how to write them up, because whoever has a contract in their hands signed by a seller at a fantastic deal has got himself an asset waiting to be funded.
Yeah.
Period. So all of us started out as professional deal finders, contract writer uppers. So if that's a word, contract writer uppers. I know it's not a word, but it's my podcast, damn it. And if I want to make up a word, I will. So that's what really happens. And let's just put it into layman terms. Okay, Victor. Let's say I don't have a pot to piss in. I don't have 2 cents, but I do know where I can negotiate with this person that's selling this house that's in bad shape. I know it's worth about 200 grand. I can get it under contract for 75 grand. Mm-hmm. I get it under contract for 75 grand. I don't have any money, but I got 30 days to close. You think someone will bring the money, the 75 grand, and split the $125,000 profit with me, or the $100,000 profit, or the $80,000 profit, or the $60,000 profit? You think they're going to split with me? So let's just say there's only 50,000 profit after all the repairs and everything, and you only profit 50,000. I have no money, and I got half of $50,000 for figuring this out. That would be $25,000. Not a bad day for a broke guy. Not a bad day for a broke guy. And if you get excited about that, you might learn how to do that 2 or 3 times a month. Now, take it from there, Victor.
No, I love it. So a couple things with that. So it's always the deal and it's not the money. Because if you get a good enough deal, like people will throw money at you, just to use your example. That's actually how I did my first fix and flip. I found a great deal and basically found what I call like a money partner. The money partner put in all the money to buy it, to renovate it, to sell it. And I was like boots on the ground. I was sweat equity. I was the one making it happen. I found the deal. I would help manage the renovations, manage the sale. So I was the sweat equity person. Like I was the one out there doing it, and we split the profit. And that's how I got started. So you get started somewhere. So don't let like money hold you back. It's like what's the use of the money? Like where are you going to put the money to use? And if it's going to get a great return, versus someone just having money sitting in the bank, putting it towards real estate where they can make much greater profits, then that's going to happen all day long. Yeah.
So that's probably the number one. Probably the number 2 objection I hear is people think they're damaged. They have bad credit. Like my credit's not that good. I filed a bankruptcy, or it doesn't matter. No one cares about you. I actually like to use this really bad example. Charles Manson should be able to get the money from my deals from prison after killing a bunch of people. It doesn't matter, because the person lending the money is either going to get paid or they're going to get the house. If the house is worth $500,000 and I'm only asking them to loan me, $250,000, then they hope that I don't pay them. Really, they really don't want me to pay them, because they'd really rather have my house. So it doesn't matter about me. They actually hope I fail, because if I pay them on time, they'll make 8, 9, 10, 12% on their money. And if I don't pay them on time, they'll get a house that's worth $250,000 more than what they had in it. So
spot on.
That's the theory behind that. So it doesn't matter about your credit. It certainly doesn't matter about your color, your height, your weight, or whether you speak really great English or not. You just have to be able to convey, that your deal is very worthy of looking at. Yeah. And if you can convey
just to tag on to that, like what you're doing, because people really don't, just like you said, like people don't really care about you. Like, oh, what's your background? Do you have a degree? What's your credit? They really care about like what you can do for them. Like that's what they're in it for them. So how I like to think about it, you're not trying to like make money. You're not trying to like, do real estate. You're a professional problem solver. So someone has a problem, you solve it for them. So if you solve it for them, then you get a big check. And solving it typically involves real estate. Like I need to sell this house, or I need to do this, I need to do that. I have a divorce, whatever. They want to sell the asset. So you're solving a problem for them. And to solve a problem, like if you think about it, like you don't need good credit to solve someone's problem. You don't need, a diploma, anything like that. You need to be XYZ. You just need to be able to solve the problem. If you can do that effectively, you get compensated.
Yeah. And then there's always the B question. And what happens if I fail? What position is the person in if I don't do what I say I'm going to do? Are they going to be in a worse position or a better position? If you can orchestrate it to where they're in a better condition, then if you don't do what you say, then it's hard for them to turn down. It's like, I'm going to pay you back this money, and this is the interest rate, and this are the payments. If I don't pay you back the money, then you get my house, okay? And if that's a winning proposition for the lender, then they ought to loan the money. So I like what you said, though. We get paid to solve problems. Can I tell you about my last problem?
Sure. What was your last problem?
So closing on a 822 acre ranch.
Okay, nice.
It has a problem. And has the two highest peaks in the county.
Okay.
And there's a saddle right between it, but the saddle is even very high. The two mountains go right across the middle of the property. So when you come in the front gate, you're looking at these two mountains. You can't get to the back 400 acres because there's these two, we call them mountains. They're really overgrown hills. And so to solve the problem of the ranch, you got to get a road up and over into the back. And that's a $100,000 proposition. Mm-hmm. But I'm taking on that ranch. I'm taking on that problem. Once you get that done, you can divide the ranch in half to 410 acres apiece, and then you make money, right? So we get paid to solve problems, whether it's title issues or repairs. Tell us about your first deal. What did you bite off on your first deal? What did it look like?
Yeah, so it was actually here in Gainesville. So we bought at 105. We put in a little under 30 in renovations. We sold for about 170. So we made about 28K net profit. So not a home run deal, but it got me started. So it got me, building a track record. I think your first deal is your hardest, just because, like we talked about, like the mindset, the fear, what if things go wrong? I think sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is for your worst nightmares to come true, because then you realize your worst nightmares aren't that scary. So we were like, oh, what if a contractor doesn't show up? And then a contractor didn't show up. Like, oh, we just found someone else pretty quickly. So it wasn't a big deal. Or maybe, this happens or this happens. What if it sits on the market? That one sat on the market a little bit, not too long. But all our, fears came true. And it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad. So let's do another deal. So that was the first one. So that one was a pretty cosmetic flip. It was like paint, flooring, kitchen. It was roof repair, pretty minimal. Like it didn't need much.
Yeah, and I would kind of suggest that on your first houses. I wouldn't go into some major repair problem, because learning to deal with contractors is a whole nother art in itself, because there's a reason why the word contractors begins with the word C-O-N, okay?
Oh, nice.
They're not all bad, but just like even our industry, there's crappy real estate investors that try to sell shit they covered up and have buried in the backyard, and title issues they didn't want to clear up, and all kinds. I mean, there's bad people in every business. There's bad doctors, there's bad lawyers, but you just have to learn to navigate your way through that field. So I would try to deal with a lighter rehab if it was my first. That would be my suggestion. Unless you're with someone who's done a lot of it and you're just partnering with them, then they can show you the ropes.
That's what I recommend too. I call it like a simple flip. So like paint, flooring, maybe roof, kitchen, something like that. No foundation, no fire damage, like nothing like that, because that's pretty costly, expensive, hard to deal with. And it's just Murphy's Law as I see it. So any things that can go wrong will go wrong. So if you have all these issues, like things are going to go wrong, and you don't want that for your first deal. Like your first deal should be like, okay, that wasn't too bad. Nice check in your hand. Let's do more. Like that should be the feeling.
The first deal is always your greatest blessing, because it opens up that gate in your, you can read about concepts all you want to, but in order to own the concept right here in your heart, you got to get a check. And it doesn't matter if the check's $5,000 or $25,000. It doesn't matter. Just proof of concept, right? It worked. I got paid. I'm to the good side of it. If I could do it once, I can do it again. Yeah. I read a book by Robert Allen, Nothing Down. It was all about buying houses with zero money. Mm-hmm. The reason why I read that book is, guess why? I didn't have any money. And this guy had the audacity to suggest that I could be rich in real estate and I didn't even have to have my own money. I thought, well, I got to read this book. Mm-hmm. Right. I read the book. 5 years later, I stumbled into a deal. It took me 5 years. I'm not a quick study. I understood the concepts. I just didn't own the concept in my heart. One day I stumbled into a deal. I did a nothing down deal. And then I slapped my forehead and I say, that's what Robert Allen was talking about. I just made a deal. I don't have any money in it. And now I own the concept in my heart. And I was out trying to buy the whole town with no money, because I saw it happen in like what you're limiting, your belief system just changes to a different, switches to a different mode. And that's the most important thing of the first deal, right?
Exactly. Now it's the first one. And like you can watch all the YouTube videos, podcasts, like the value of getting started. The other thing I want to, just add to what you just said, Like, I know it took you 5 years to get your first deal, but I mean, look at where you're at now. So it really is that exponential growth. So it's so important to get started as soon as possible. This is how it was for me too. Like the first year I did 2, then I did 8, then I did 20. Goal is 30 for this year. So it grows exponentially. And like by not getting started, you just don't miss on that linear. Like you miss out on everything below that. Like who knows where you would have been like if you started that 5 years earlier, like been doing
Yeah, no kidding. So, but you know, I want to say I wasn't out there trying to find a deal, and it took me 5 years. I didn't believe the concept was me. I didn't believe it would work for me, so I put it off. I didn't jump in, or I didn't apply what they were telling me for a long time, because I was so limited in my belief system that even if the guy was sitting there telling me how to do it and was interviewing other people that had worked for, I was somehow telling myself that doesn't work for me. It's not going to work in this town. It's not, you know, typical bullshit that you tell yourself, just plain bullshit that we drowned ourselves in. And yeah, I shudder to think where I would be if I had broken through those barriers earlier in my life. So the economies, everyone's saying, it's, you know, the hot housing market. For some reason, people think that automatically means that there's no deals to be made. I never get that. Say, well, it's pretty hard to, you're not finding any deals out there today, are you? I said, sure. People quit dying. People quit getting divorced. People quit, you know, getting cancer. Of course, there's no tragedies out there. There's no, yeah, there's plenty of deals out there. You have to live where the chaos is, you know, where there's change, where there's major change. You didn't cause that change, but that change happened. And usually there's some real estate tied to it, and something's got to be done with it. So I, you know, there's an old saying, it's anonymous, I think, wealth comes from chaos. So find where the chaos is.
Yep. Yeah. From chaos to order, that's where you make your money. Because like the house is trashed, going through a divorce. So you bring order to, you know, clear up some title issues, you bring order to the entire situation, sell it for retail price, and that's your, you know, that's your value. Just dealing with that entire situation.
So talk to us about coaching. Did you hire some coaches yourself, or how did you get to where you're at?
Sure. So I went full time in real estate about 2.5 years ago. I was transitioning from like
right there. Let's just say that. So how do you go full time? Did you have enough in the bank to last a year? Did you just call your boss and jump off and say, I'm going to jump into this business and gamble? Did you get fired and didn't have a choice? Tell me how that happened first.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. So it was a smoother transition. That's what I recommend for folks. Like, don't hear this podcast and be like, okay, I'm going to quit everything today. You know, I'm going all in on real estate. That's not how I did it.
Don't do that.
I wouldn't recommend that. So basically what happened, I was working that corporate corporate job, kind of the home health administrator. Wasn't working out for a number of reasons. I always had the real estate bug. So always in the back of my mind, like, oh, I want to do this. And I want to make this happen. How do I make it happen? And just slowly started like doing more research, looking into it some more, came across, it was a friend of a friend, Chris Chico, and he does like Facebook ads for wholesaling. And I reached out to him, and I couldn't afford his mentorship, but he had a position open for like a cold caller. He's like, it's commission only, you know, whatever you can bring in, I'll give you a percentage of it. I'm like, I'm in. And he would mentor me and teach me for free. You know, that I learned a ton. That relationship ended, still on good terms with him. Started doing wholesaling, made $3,000 on my first flip, first wholesale, 3.5 on the second wholesale. Then started fixing and flipping. And that's where I am today. And it was like a smooth transition. I was working full time, did Uber on the weekends. And then I started to get some traction with the real estate. So I quit the full-time job, still had the Uber income coming in. And then once I started getting those checks, and I was like, okay, let me go all in, let me make this happen. And that's the story.
Yeah, I know Chris. I was in a mastermind with Chris. And
oh, great.
Neat guy, yeah. So I always tell people, you know, well, most of us that start out in the business, I think, have a similar story. We're kind of burning the candle at both ends, right? You know, you got your daytime gig, you got your steady income, you got enough to pay the bills and everything. And then every spare minute you got, you're driving for dollars or making offers or trying to prove the concept so that you can quit your job. Now, just so everyone knows, like, the object of this podcast is to help people figure out how to quit their job, to replace whatever that is, income wise, so that they quit. Because when you walk away from that job, you're going to free up about 2,600 hours a year that you get to work on just you. So like Dave Ramsey, they do the primal screen when people get debt free. We ring the bell around here when people call up and say, I was able to quit my job yesterday, thanks to the things I've learned. Mm-hmm. And because I think that's tremendously important, because that 2,600 hours is how you're going to become an expert, how you're going to get your 10,000 hours. It's really hard to do 4 hours at a time to get 10,000 hours after work, or on the weekends. Really hard. Mm-hmm. We can, though, try to replace our $3,500 a month, our 40. So I think the first goal should always be something very small, which should be hopefully your income. You know what I mean? For once in your life, not having a lot of money could be your greatest asset to becoming free and finding yourself. Because if it doesn't take very much money for you to get free, then, if you only need $2,500 to quit your job, then that's tremendous, because someone who's making $250,000 in a corporate job and hates it's got a whole nother challenge ahead of them. Mm-hmm. It's pretty easy to make $2,500 if you just concentrate on that. What did you have to replace when you jumped off? What were you making?
Actually, wasn't a lot. Now that you mentioned, I was at so I was making, it was $500 a week. I would do weekend Ubering, so Friday night, Saturday night, a little bit of Sunday. I was $500 a week, and then with the job, this was, I think it was like $15 an hour. So what is that?
30,000.
Yeah, it's about 30,000 plus the Ubering, so like 40,000 maybe.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So to replace that income, and I swear that's like when I talk to my students, I want to know what their freedom number is. And the lower that number is, the more excited I get, because if you average $500 a deal positive cash flow and you need $3,500, I mean that's 7 deals to freedom. 7 deals to freedom. And that's not like the kind of freedom where you're flying a Learjet or traveling all the country. I'm just saying you don't have to. You decide when you wake up in the morning. You decide what you want to wear, and you decide how the day is going to go, because ain't nobody to tell you what to do when you tell your boss goodbye. And I think that's a very important first step. I don't like to set. I mean, I never set goals of I want to make $1 million, be a multimillionaire, or be a multi. I never set any of those goals. My first goal was no job, eat. That was my first goal. No job, eat. And it scared the living crap out of me. Right?
Well, I think the key is like little baby steps, because I've seen people like psych themselves out. Like they set like this huge unattainable goal and they don't do it. Like a lot of people, maybe they work full time and they're like, I'm going to go all out this weekend. I'm going to spend the entire weekend making offers. I'm going to make 50 offers in one weekend and I'm going to get a deal. And they kind of hype themselves up, and then like Friday rolls around, nothing. Saturday rolls around, oh, I'll start tomorrow. Sunday rolls around, nothing happens. But they just hype themselves up, and nothing happens. So you really got to take those baby steps, like building these daily habits, so you can get out there and start making offers and getting out there. Just like you said, if you hype yourself up, like I'm a millionaire, billionaire, you hit the smallest roadblock, and there's that huge gap, and that gap is painful. So you want that like little gap. Just like, because you can hit that next gap, like, oh, I'll just make an offer today. Oh, I'll just get a deal like this year, like something small and attainable, so you can build that momentum, so you don't feel the emotional burn every time you miss a goal.
So, are you married? Do you have children? What?
Single. Yeah.
Single. Okay. That's a little bit different too.
Okay.
I was single when I started out on my quest, which was cool because I didn't have to ask permission, and I could sleep on the floor if I wanted to, and I could eat rice and beans because I knew I could do it. You know what I mean? I was willing to sacrifice whatever it takes. Sometimes it's a little harder to ask someone else in your life to do that. You know what I mean? Especially if you have kids. But I have had people use that excuse before. And I say, you don't use your wife and your kids as an excuse not to do it. You use them as a driving force to do it, because they deserve better than what's going on. Probably, they all deserve to have more of you. Ultimately earn your freedom, earn your financial your financial freedom and your personal time freedom, which is the point of both jobs. I mean, most people start out and all they have is a financial goal. Mm-hmm. It usually turns into now that I have the money, how do I buy my time back? So, but if you'll go with time and money as your goal to begin with, it'll help out a little bit.
Mhm.
So when you teach people how to do this stuff, are you doing it like over the internet, or are you doing it by the phone or Zoom, or do people come to you physically? What?
So how I do it, yeah, it's a kind of like a group coaching program. So I have like a Facebook group, all the students are in there. I have like an online course so people can like learn the basics and learn the fundamentals on their own, and then they can come back to me. They have Voxer access to me. So how that works, like anytime they want to hit me up, it's like a little walkie-talkie app. They can ask me questions directly. So that's been working out really well. Then we have like group calls twice a week on Zoom. Like if there's anything I missed or anything they want to talk about, go through. So it's kind of this group coaching model, but they get direct access to me. It's been really successful. Students are getting deals, students are getting out there. It's one thing I've seen this too, like the value of community is really key. Like if you feel like you're doing this solo, then you're not going to have as much success versus like if you have a community of people, like this person's doing a deal, this person's doing a deal, this person's doing a deal. It's a nice kick in the butt. Like, hey, I need to do a deal too. Because then those barriers start to break down. Like, oh, this person had no money and got a deal, and they're in Texas. This person did a deal with bad credit, and they're in Washington. Like all these like limiting beliefs start to melt away if you start to see other people doing it.
Yeah, that's the one great thing about having those communities, is like seeing other people have some success and knowing that it's not fabricated. Like that, like, no, that guy really did that because he was talking last week, or being able to size up. And this is kind of a bad example, but wow, that guy that I've been listening to for the last 3 weeks really isn't that smart, and he just made 25 grand.
It's more reachable.
Yeah. We can do this. All right. So again, go to 1000houses.com/Viktor, Viktor, and check out. You can sign up with this free Facebook group there and get in that group, and then find out what all there is to offer over there. What do you think one of the most important daily habits is?
I always break it down to 3 things, but I'll rank them in importance. So the first thing is mindset, work on mindset. That's really key. Second is make offers. And then third is push deals forward. So push deals forward, like if you're in the middle of a renovation, like you got to take it to the next step, or if you're just trying to sell it, push the next, if you have it under contract, push the next step. It's always mindset first, because everything else is going to come from that. If you don't have a good foundation, it's not going to help. But like the mindset is key. Anytime I've had a leap in my income in a positive way, like mindset, there's a mindset shift first, something like a limiting belief got released or something happened, and then it was like a quantum leap forward. And then, okay, a little bit of mindset, quantum leap forward. And it just been going like that. And I've luckily been doubling my income every year for the last, I think it's like 5 years. And I name it mostly to the mindset. It's not like, oh, what's this cool technique that works, or what's this great marketing method. Just
probably we'll wrap it up right now. Again, go to 1000houses.com/Viktor, Viktor, and join that Facebook group and get a sense for this community and see if it's the right place for you. All we're trying to do here on this podcast is help you find your way to your financial independence, and so that you can be the person you're supposed to be. So, if this seems like the natural way for you to go, then go try it. It's not going to harm you. And keep trying until you find where you belong. It may not even be in real estate, but you don't know until you start checking things off the list, what you're good at, what you like, what you don't like. And I sincerely hope that everyone gets there. All right, this is Mitch Stephens with 1000houses.com podcast. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by to get you some Viktor Jiracek and over there in Florida. And Viktor, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right. I'd like to say thank you to livecom.com, livecom.com. Check it out. There's a reason why my properties have only lasted 4 days on average on the market with no signs. So check it out, and you'll find many, many uses that you can use Livecom for. It's a very, very, very interesting marketing strategy, which Right now, we're reading. I just Googled it the other day. Text messages have about a 96.7% open rate. So if you're still doing emails and it's not working, it's because the open rates are quite different. So check it out, livecom.com. All right, my friend, we're out of here.